Hey guys, in this video, I'll be showing you how you can create a SSI package using Microsoft Visual Studio and how you can basically facilitate a OLAP process for analytical purposes where you can use the ETL process or the ELT process to basically extract data and manipulate it in the way that you want, whether you want to extract it, transform it and then load it, or whether you want to extract it, load it, and then transform it in your reporting server or destination. Now, first things first, you're going to need Visual Studio. So if you have not yet installed Visual Studio, um, please install it for this video. If you need a video for me to show you how to install Visual Studio, please leave a comment down for me to address that. But in this video, the assumption is that you already have Visual Studio installed. So let's get to it. So we're going to create a new project. Now, additionally, a requirement for this is for you to have the integrated service installed for Visual Studio. Now, if you don't have it installed, you can leave a comment and I can show you how to get that process going so that you can create your own um, data package projects. Now, let's get to going next. By the way, you also have the option of doing it with Azure enabled, or we're going to be doing it locally. So we'll go next. I'm just going to call this test ELT. So calling it test ELT. And of course, you don't need to change the solution name. By default, it will place it in your source directory on your PC. So if you need to find it, you just go into, I'll just show you after doing it, but basically you go into your PC and you go into your actual user profile that is creating this and look for source and you should see it. But I'll show you that later on. Let's create. All right. So this is what you will be greeted by. Now, over to your left-hand side, you have your SSIS toolbox. But based on what you're in, the over there will change, right? So you see, you've been mostly focusing on on control flow and data flow. Now, the first thing you're going to need is actually to have a data flow connection, right? So data flow task rather. So you have a data flow task. So I added this data flow task and I can actually go inside and it will carry me within the data flow. Now, just to let you know, say this is very intuitive. So if I should delete that and I go here, it actually lets you know, there's no data flow task. So you can actually create it from the system automated. So you can just create it and now you see it here. You don't necessarily need to drag this over. However, good practice. So already know what you need. But either works. And you can go in. All right. Now you can rename this. I'm going to call this data, data, data process. I'm going to call it data process. All right. So give it a general name. All right. So now that we're inside, we want to actually get a source and a destination. Now, in other videos, I'll show you using different sources, like you can use Excel, which is vice versa for source and destination. So you can use Excel, You can use ADO.NET source. You can use a OLE database source. You can even use an XML source. Um, yeah, you have an option, right? So you can even, if you're unsure, you can use destination assistance. However, because we know exactly what we want to use, it's not, I'm not going to use that. However, I can create a video showing you how to use that. Just leave a comment and I'll do that. All right, so you just drag and drop. Give it a while, a little bit. Doesn't normally take this long, but now you got your source. You can even drop your destination. Now, as I said before, based on where you're pulling from, you choose the appropriate. ADO.NET supports a lot of connections. So by default, you can choose that and see how it works with your connection. It was also recommended do your research and just check and see what connections you need in order to facilitate a proper data extraction and loading. All right, so I'm going to go into the source. Now, if you had already had connections, right, you would have had them here. However, because the first time, you can come here. Oh, just a note, and you'll see it in a few. You may have created connections, but they don't populate here. You can actually choose them from here. So I just chose one, but I want a new one, right? So I'm going to create a new source. So you can do two things. You can select from your list. So if you have network shared databases, you can actually select from your list of them, right? Now, I am going to, check from, ew. I'm going to check this application. Can I just, uh, give me a sec. Let me just grab something. I don't want to use something that I'm going to need to go find the credentials for. So I'm gonna use something that is a bit easier to log into. Uh, so all right, because it's the local, it should, that may not, you trust the certificate. Another thing you can do, you can test the connection. So currently right now it's saying like, that's not gonna work. So I'm going to have to actually put in the password. It doesn't want to do that. Okay. Um, yeah.
Okay, so my bad, guys. My bad. All right, so Okay, so now that the connection has been successful, I'm going to press OK, and now we have added Oracle report DB1 to the, which as you can see is a duplicate. Now, because it's a duplicate, I'm just going to delete it because we really don't need to. So I've deleted it. But I'm going to still select it. Um, so I'm going to select as a source. And of course, I can choose what I want. Now I'm just going to select a random table. All these things are very much packed with data. So what could I use that doesn't have a lot of data? All right, because these have a lot of data, and I want to show you a very quick process, I am just going to choose something that already exists. But you have seen how you can basically create such you can create such connection. All right, so I'm going to select from these here. I'm going to select a random table. Now you can set preview and you can see the aliases. All right. Okay, cool. On another note, I also think that might have a little uh, currency. Here. Yeah, I just need something with less data. I don't need a lot of data for this. All right, so you can check the columns, make sure everything has a name, you know, our outputs are okay. If anything happens, you get a failed component. Um, all right, so just press OK. So now so we can also rename this and call this currency. Following this currency for the destination, by the way, you need to drag this blue or gray, depending on how your color perception works. But I'm going to say this blue arrow down because that would create a connection to your destination. And I'm just going to call this, let's say, destination, which means I probably should call this, uh, probably should call this currency source. Yeah, since we're going with proper naming conventions. Right, so yeah, currency source, currency destination. All right, so now you can double click. Before you'd have seen me double click and then got an error. It's because I didn't create a connection. All right, so we're going to create a new. And as I said before, after you've created your destination, which is the same way as creating your source, you just choose a database that you wish to be, which would have been your reporting server, or If you are doing this on live data, then you on a live transactional database, then of course we choose that. However, this is more so for Orla. So we're choosing a reporting server. All right, so we can check the mapping. Oh wait, by the way, can't check the mapping until you actually create the table. So now I'm going to create this table within the destination database. All right, confirm all these tables, the data types. Okay, cool. I'm saying okay. Again, this is the destination. Now you can check the mapping. You can check your error. All right, so once you say okay, that is it. Now, just for some additional information, if you are pulling large data, it's not large data, so it won't matter. But if you're pulling large data, you can increase the timeout duration. So what that means is that, let me right click and show you properties. Over here, you have a command timeout. So what happens is that after 30 seconds, the connection will drop. So if you're ever pulling data and you realize all of a sudden you get an error, or you get where you can check in the event handler and it will tell you, sorry, I think yeah, package explorer or event handler, and it will tell you what is going on. And basically it normally says timeout. So with that, all you need to do is increase the actual time here. Now to show you, I can set this to 1000 just in case this runs over. We know that there's at least 5 or so rows of data, so we won't need that. All right, so I'm gonna start this. So again, just to review, always check. So this is the source, and this is the destination. Ensure that these are correct, because you don't want it to be a case where you select two sources. Well, you select the start source and you end up selecting that same start source as the end source, as the destination source. So you don't want a case like that. Ensure that you have selected the right source and the right destination. It happens. It happens. All right. So with that being said, we're going to start. Now let's get to it. So I'm going to start. Okay, so we have now first over 3 rows of data. I thought it was more than that, but I don't mind. All right, so let us go up here to the report. We might need to refresh this database. So let's refresh. All right, so now if I go here, if I go to Oracle, if I go to table, I should now see currency. So now we see currency with the respective fields, right? Awesome. So now we know that the data has been added. All right. Now, say for instance, this will be a process. So you're going to want to add this as a job that recurs, periodically. Now, I won't show you how to do that in this video. However, what I will show you is something that needs to be done prior to doing this ETL or ELT based on what your desired thing is. All right, so we're going to stop this and we want to create execute SQL task. So what this will allow you to do is to basically run a query on the data whether it be the source or the actual destination that you're going to actually pull from. All right. So first things first, I'm going to change this to ADO.net. That's what I'm using. And I want to select the report DB. All right. And so what I'm going to do is that I am going to write truncate. Now, ensure that you're selecting the right database. Those words. So that should be the name of it, but you can parse just to ensure that it is correct. So we're going to truncate the currency table, right? And just to show you again, here is the currency table. However, if you notice, I actually have the name wrong. So while the syntax is correct, the table is actually wrong. So ensure that you have a table or the correct name, because this is a truncate. So it's going to clear all the data in there, right? All right. So that being said, all right. So I said parsed. So we're parsed correctly. Okay. Now you just drag and pull. So what it's going to do is that when I execute, it's going to be the first thing that runs. So, okay, you can go in and you can see that the 3 rows have been added. And this will prevent any duplicates from being added to your destination. And it will create a fresh rather, a fresh, give me a sec. It will create a fresh result set for your table. So the same data, but of course, it has been refreshed with the most recent data since the execution of the package. All right, so let's stop. So you can do a few other things. So we are going to rename this as test e you can save. All right, so now I was telling you that you can basically go to PC, right? Go to user, go to the profile that is creating it, look for source, and you want to look for most recent, which is SELT, right? If you should open this, it will load back into this. And this package is what you would use for your SSIS job executions in whatever database management tool you're using, whether it be server management or whether it be an Oracle like SQL developer. All right, so basically that concludes this video. I hope that it was insightful, and tune in for other videos. And yeah, if there's any questions you have, please leave a comment, and I'll get back to you. Thank you for watching this video, and goodbye.